Hi, I'm Miranda Miller again, and today I'm going to be doing my final video blog for the capstone class. So in this video blog, I'm going to be talking about my 6-page hybrid software development lifecycle model, and I called it the advantages of the 5-phase model forming together. So for my paper, I'm just basically going to read it to you. I didn't have time to make a PowerPoint or anything like that, so I'm just going to read it off. So for my abstract, I put the purpose of this research is to take the advantages of the waterfall model, spiral model, the RAD model, which is the rapid application development model, the agile model, and the object-oriented analysis and design model, and form a hybrid software development lifecycle model. The first part of this project discusses the history of each of those models and talks about their advantages. The next phase will combine those advantages together to form the hybrid model. By creating this hybrid model, people will be able to reference to this new and improved model for future work. Next is the introduction. This study demonstrates the benefits of creating a hybrid software development lifecycle model, SDLC. This includes the waterfall, spiral, rapid, RAD, once again, the agile, and the object-oriented analysis and design model, which can be referred to OOA or OOD, or OOAD. To officially introduce the new hybrid model, each model will be individually discussed and their advantages will be listed. Then a 5-phase SDLC model will be created and each of those phases will be discussed. First, we're going to go through the waterfall model. The waterfall model was the first established modern approach to building a system. According to Davis and Stitman, Winston W. Royce of 1970 gave the first formal description of the waterfall model. This model quickly gained support from companies because everything flows logically from the beginning of the project to the end. The original waterfall model method included the requirements, determination, design, implementation, verification, and maintenance phase. Other models changed the requirements phase to the idea phase, or they would break the phase up into the planning and analysis phase, but the underlying principles remain the same. An important advantage of the waterfall idea is that it allows for departmentalization and managerial control. If a company has deadlines to make, each phase of the project makes it possible for the product to proceed through the process of developing under the created schedule. In addition, the waterfall software development model puts solid requirements on the project documentation as well as the source code. This means that if any team members were to leave the project, then less knowledge would be lost in comparison to the project with less design and documented methodologies. The waterfall model can be successfully used either on small projects or trivial projects, where all the requirements are known before the project starts and they won't change over the time. Okay, here you're going to see the pictures on my presentation. I sent it to you, but I wanted to show you. This is a picture of the waterfall model. As you see, it just flows logically all the way down. Okay, as for the spiral model. The spiral model was first described by Barry Boehm in his 1986 paper, A Spiral Model of Software Development and Enhancements. You can see my dog in the background. Earlier papers used the term process model to refer to the spiral model as well as to the incremental waterfall prototyping and other approaches. In later publications, Boehm described the spiral model as a process model generator, where choices based on the project's risks generate an appropriate process model for the project. The major spiral model features are determining the objectives, identifying and resolving risks, planning the next phase, and developing and testing the phases. An important advantage of the spiral lifecycle model is that it allows elements of the product to be added in when they become available or known. This assures that there is no conflict with the previous requirements of the design. In addition, this method is consistent with approaches that have multiple software builds, which allows making an orderly transition to a maintenance activity. Also, developments can be divided into smaller parts and risky parts can be developed earlier, which helps in better risk management. Hold on a second. Sorry about that, my dog was being a nuisance. But, where was I? Okay, there is a systematic approach used in the spiral model, which is integrated into the framework. This helps ensure that there is no problems in the software. Below is I have a list of advantages of the spiral model, and I put that it's highly flexible, it's fast and cost efficient, works well for complex projects, and is monitoring easy and effective. It also has a focus of documentation control, and the product can be highly customized. Lastly, the risk analysis helps to eliminate and avoid risk. Okay, as you see, this picture of the spiral model, you'll see in my paper. As for the Rapid Application Development Model, RAD. The RAD model is an approach to developing information systems that wants to produce rapid development by having system developers and end users to work together jointly in real time to develop systems. The RAD method was designed in the 1970s and 1980s to improve on other models like the waterfall model. Technically, the first RAD alternative was the spiral model. And that is when James Martin developed the RAD approach, which is shown in Figure 3, which is what I'll show you. This approach includes the requirements, planning phase, user design phase, the construction phase, and the cutover phase. This method works best for projects where the scope of the work can be broken down into manageable parts. RAD focused on using minimal planning in favor of rapid prototyping. The most important aspect of this model is to make sure that any of the prototypes that are developed are reusable. The primary advantage of using the RAD model is that information systems developed in as little as 1/4 of the usual time. Some of the advantages of this RAD model include the changing requirements can be accommodated, productivity with fewer people in a short amount of time, encourages customer feedback, and integration from the very beginning solves a lot of the integration issues at the end. And it's not very clear, but here is a picture of the RAD model. Okay, there's also another RAD model that involves 5 phases, which includes the business modeling phase, the data modeling, process modeling, application generation, and testing and turnover phases. First, the business modeling phase is where the product is under development and a complete business analysis is performed. Second, the data modeling phase is where the information from the business modeling phase is reviewed and analyzed. Third, the process modeling phase is where the analyzed information in the previous phase is converted to establish the flow of the project. Fourth, the application generation phase is where the actual system is built. Lastly, the testing and turnover phase is where the testing time is reduced because each phase is tested independently during the phases. Each of the phases of this version of the RAD model are shown below, and here is that version of the RAD model. Okay, this is when we move on to the agile phase. And in the previous model, the advantages are the exact same as the advantages in the first one I explained. So as for the agile phase, the agile model is a combination of the alternative and incremental process models. But it handles the project differently by using existing methods to suit the project requirements. This model is relatively new, being started in the 90s, and it provides a flexible and effective practice based on methodology for modeling and documenting software systems. The Agile model has 6 phases which include the planning, the requirements analysis, design, coding, unit testing, and acceptance testing phase. 17 leaders got together in 2001, and that is when the Agile Manifesto was born. The people at this meeting wanted to build a software that was quick and wanted the end users to have it as soon as possible. This enabled users to get business benefits as well as the creators to get feedback from the model. Those 2 features became the biggest advantages of using the Agile model. Other advantages include the customer satisfaction early on and have continuous delivery of the valuable software. Requirements can be changed throughout the lifecycle process. Working software is the primary measure of progress. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. And those were the advantages of the Agile Manifesto. Now, the advantages of the Agile model are concurrent as the principles, but there are a few more advantages that I wanted to include. It is easy to manage, there's little to no planning required, functionality can be developed rapidly, and it enables concurrent development and delivery within an overall planned context. And the Agile model is right there. Hold on a second. Sorry about that, my dog is misbehaving very much today. As for the object-oriented analysis and design phase, the object-oriented analysis and design, or OOAD, is a technical method of analyzing and designing an application based on the system's object models. OOAD has been around since the 1970s, but the core ideas weren't developed until the 90s. People from all over started publishing articles and techniques that dealt with OOAD concepts, and some are still used today. Object-oriented analysis is different from the object-oriented design, but together they form the SDLC model. The object is a tangible item, or in the computer science sense, an object can refer to a class or a method. OOA is a stage of analysis that wants the functional requirements of the software to be independent from the implementation requirements of the software. OOA phase consists of 5 stages, which include the finding and defining the objects, organizing the objects, how the objects interact with one another, and defining the external-internal behavior of the projects. After establishing the OOA, then the OOD becomes an extension of it. Once the object model is in hand, then that is when the consideration of how it should be designed and implemented. The stages of OOD include the definition of the context of the system, the designing system architecture, identification of the objects in the system, construction of the design models, and specifications of object interfaces. The OOA is considered the what, and the OOD is considered the how. The OOAD approach, when it is applied to real-life events, is shown in a figure which I will show you on the next page. The OOAD method shares the same approach as the Agile methodologies. And one of the more popular approaches that they share is the Rational Unified Process, RUP, which establishes 4 phases of development: inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. Each of those phases go through several separate iterations. The advantages of the OOAD model are as follows. It is easy to understand. It is easy to maintain. It provides reusability. It reduces development time and cost and focuses on data. The principles of encapsulation help the developer to develop systems that can't be tampered, and it can be upgraded from small to large systems at a greater ease. And this is the OOAD phase, or whatever you want to call it, the model. Okay, lastly, the hybrid model that I created. Between the waterfall, spiral, agile, rapid application development, and the object-oriented analysis and design models, there are specific attributes from each of those models that can go into a new hybrid model to make the most sufficient working SDLC model. First, in the waterfall model, the advantage that I have chosen to incorporate is how it flows logically from the beginning of the project to the end. In addition, this model allows for departmentalization and managerial control, meaning that if the company has a set schedule to follow, then this model makes it possible to do that. Second, the advantages from the spiral model that I've chosen are that it allows for additions later in the project when they become known. And this assures that there is no conflict with the previous requirements. Another advantage of the spiral model is that it is a fast development and it is a cost-effective, which is important when users are developing a new project. Third, the advantage that I've chosen from the rapid application development model is that any prototype that is created, it is important to make sure that it is reusable. because it reduces the overall development time of the project. Fourth, the advantages that I have chosen for the Agile model came from the Agile Manifesto. And it enables users to receive the benefits from the project, but it also allows feedback from the creators to see when it is working and what isn't. This enabled users to get business benefits as well as the creators get feedback from this model. Lastly, the advantages that I've chosen from the object-oriented analysis and design model is that it can be upgraded from a small project to a larger project with great ease. This helps when the requirements at the beginning start small, but over time they become too large. This hybrid model will consist of 5 phases, which include planning, user design, building, testing, and the deployment phase. First, the planning phase is where the project attributes are set and what needs to be completed for this project to be sent to the customer. Second is the user design phase, where a rough draft of how the project will look and what task each person is assigned to in order to complete the project. Third is the building phase, which is where the project is built and thoroughly tested, which begins the 4th phase. The 4th phase is the testing phase, and it is developed and sent to the customers for feedback. If the project does not properly work, then it is sent back to the building phase and it is recreated. Lastly, if the project does not work properly, if the project does work properly, then the deployment phase is implemented, and it is sent to the customer. This hybrid model, I have a little sketch of what I did. You can see it more clearly when you look at my paper. But as you can see, it looks like the waterfall model, and it just slowly goes down to all the phases. And that is it for my hybrid paper. So a little how I felt doing this paper. I thought it was really easy because on project 2 we basically had to do the spiral model and another model that we have chosen. So that was easy. I just incorporated my old paper into this one. So I got it done in a day. Hope you like it. Hope I got a good grade on it. But as for, so you guys still have 13 minutes, so I have to talk a little bit more about something. But I'm just going to explain to you about the final project. The final project isn't completely done. We have most of it done. We just need to get the project management side of it done. But I'm just going to go over my 3 topics that I had. So I had for the web development one, I was we were all in charge of something. I was in charge of the security portion of it. So I put WordPress, we needed a security aspect of it. So I said that WordPress values itself on how secure their core software is. WordPress is the site that we are using. And how hundreds of developers regularly audit it. WordPress wants to make sure that people know how to eliminate and reduce risk in case of a security breach. To do that, WordPress came out with the ultimate security guide that helps users have a secure website. Major security points include keeping the website updated, using strong passwords, installing WordPress backup solutions, and using a security plugin. Below, the major points are listed in an explanation beginning as to why the WordPress website is more secure. So, for updating websites, WordPress is an open source software which automatically installs minor updates. But like any other technological device, people need to manually install the major releases. In addition, the plugins that are needed for this website will also need to be updated manually for the major releases. Using an outdated plugin or website can result in information being compromised because they do not receive the security updates that they are needed to protect the product. Hackers tend to target outdated products because it's easier to put harmful viruses, spyware, or other malicious software on it. Next, using strong passwords and user permissions. In this virtual lab, researchers need to have login credentials to be able to access the website. The most common hacking attempt is stolen passwords. Using stronger passwords will make it more difficult for hackers to hack the website. Strong passwords should be used for the administrator areas, the WordPress hosting account, and the database. WordPress offers the use of a password manager, which allows people to store their passwords, allowing only one person to access this list. In addition, WordPress comes with a user role management administrator role. Comes with a user role management system which defines what a user can and cannot do on the website. For example, a person with the administrator role will be able to access all the information that the site has to offer. However, a person that has an editor role will be able to have full control of the site as well, but they will not be able to change the settings or install new plugins. Rules will be given out by the administrator as they see fit. Next, installing a WordPress backup solution. Having the website backed up is the first defense someone should take in case the website gets hacked. Backups allow people to quickly restore the WordPress site in case something happens. Backups need to be stored on a cloud service like Amazon or Dropbox. That way, people have a regularly saved full site backups that aren't on the hosting account. WordPress offers backup plugins that are free. The one that is used for this site is called Backup Buddy, which allows the user to schedule daily, weekly, or monthly backups, and it can automatically store backups in the cloud service like Amazon or Dropbox. Backup Buddy has no monthly fee, and a 1 GB of cloud storage is given to store the backups. Next, for a security plugin. This plugin is used for security protection and also has an auditing and monitoring system that keeps track of what is happening on the website. Some security features include detection, which scans every angle of the website to catch internally and externally hacks. It has continuous monitoring, incident alerts, remote scanning, and a server-side scanner. Next, the protection, which instantly blocks hackers who try to take down your website. That involves a website application firewall, block hackers, DDoS mitigation, virtual patching and hardening, prevent zero-day exploits. Next is the response, which is safely removed hacked code and cleared up backup list and warnings. It is the fast time response, complete backup cleanup, dedicated security analyst, and a full cleanup report. Lastly, it's the performance. It increases the speed and the availability of the website. It is reduced server load, works with other CDNs, it's a smart catching options, and it's a fast HTTP to support. And that's basically my portion of the website development part. We all got to pick what we wanted to do. Obviously, I picked security because that's what I'm best at. But website portion, it was relatively easy, or at least my part was. I don't know if it's completely done. It might be, it might not be, but hopefully it's done by Friday. Okay. As for the security portion. Okay, so security plan for the virtual lab. We use for electronic access, we use the Tyco integrated security. And this Tyco uses a range of electronic access control devices, locks and systems with management tools to help you control devices, locks and systems with management tools to help you control access to your offices, facilities, and operations. In addition, Tyco offers complete support in the layout, installation, and assessment of the systems. Beyond the security portion, the electronic facility access control technology delivers valuable business intelligence, allowing the owner of the company to know who is entering and leaving the facility time and duration of the visit, all while keeping record of activity relating to the facility access. So next is the physical location access, and we're also using Tyco integrated security. So Tyco enhances the security of critical vulnerable facilities by offering installation of physical access control structures to protect against unauthorized people, explosives, and other threats. Some of our ideas were we need a key card access to certain rooms, like the equipment room, lab room. The alarm must be activated when no one is in the building. Only a handful of people should have a key to the building. There should be cameras located near all entrances inside the equipment room. And logs should be kept on who accesses what room at what time. So we have one web server, which we do have a small little budget. So the web server is $6,546, and HP will be doing that one. So we have physical authentication. And we used ADT installation, and that's going to cost $10,000. So it's going to be one card system will be installed for the virtual lab so that only people with access cards have access to the lab. Next, installing a card access control system is one of the best ways to improve the security for your site because it restricts the amount of people that can enter the virtual lab. 3 more card systems will be installed for authorized personnel to access the rooms housing the robots, electronic equipment and the chemicals found in the lab. Each person who receives an access card will have the permissions on them allowing to only access certain aspects of the lab, therefore keeping out those who are not qualified to enter or view areas of the lab, specific areas of the lab. Okay, we're doing electronic authentication, which we're using DigiCert installation, and it's going to be $295 a year. So digital certifications may be used for authentication to ensure the registered user is in control of the authentication token. Measures should be implemented to protect against eavesdropping, replay tags, password guessing, and verify impersonation. And then we have permissions, like level 1 permissions are access to the main lab, printing, permissions to view lab resources. We have level 2 permissions, which are all the level 1 permissions plus access to testing and coding, permission to create lab resources and update policies. We have level 3 permissions, which are level 2 and level 1 permissions, which are access to the server room, access to financial data, access to personal files, permission to edit and delete the files, and remove users and request equipment resources. And then we also have a disaster recovery plan. And for this, a disaster recovery plan will be put in place to ensure the recovery of maintenance of the vital technology organization systems following a natural or human-induced disaster. This policy will apply to everyone that has access to the virtual lab, and it will also ensure the recovery time for such disasters and how to recover information that was damaged or lost. The requirements of this policy should be implemented by everyone who has access to the virtual lab, and failure to comply with the policy will result in their access to the lab being revoked. Okay, and in addition, all employees should be trained on the backup plan that is in place. Okay, next is the Data Information and Protection Plan. Data and Information Protection Plan will be put in place to protect data from being lost, corrupted, compromised, or stolen through hardware failure, human error, hacking, and malware. This policy recognizes that the backup and maintenance of data for the virtual lab is critical to the viability of the sensitive research data experiments, login credentials, expensive equipment, the handling of chemicals and electronics, web servers and webcams, and a physical space that happens in this lab. In addition, the objectives of this lab are to prevent loss of data in the case of accidental deletion, corruption of data, system failure, and/or disaster. And the requirements of this policy shall be implemented by everyone who has access to the virtual lab, and failure to comply with the policy will result in the access to the lab being revoked. We also have a Physical Resource Protection Plan. The purpose of the Physical Resource Protection Plan is to ensure that anyone that has access to the equipment in the lab are prepared in case of stolen or damaged property. The persons who have access to the equipment will need to understand the steps in place to make sure the equipment is properly protected. We also have the Identify and Privacy Protection Plan. The purpose of this plan is to identify the individuals that do the experiments in the virtual lab and protect them from any outsiders trying to gain access to sensitive information. In addition, this plan is intended to help employees determine what information can be disclosed to people that do not have access to the lab. Some of the objectives of this plan are to ensure information that is either stored or shared by any means, which includes electronic information on paper, and information shared orally or visually is in proper protocol. To ensure that all employees are using a good sense of judgment on determining what is secure, and to prevent people people that do not have access to the lab or do not have access to sensitive information by restricting computer use to that way the amount of risk is minimized. The requirements of this policy shall be implemented by everyone who's access to the virtual lab, and failures to comply with the policy will result in their access to the lab being revoked. We also have the physical equipment access and the software access. I feel like you just don't want to hear me talk about that anymore. You're going to read it, so it's fine. We're going to move on to the database portion. Okay. You're going to see our lovely charts when you get this project management paper, so I'm not going to show you. But we have this little database, little paragraph on what we did. So media users will be stored in the social media information table. Each social media platform will have a different syntax to access the user IDs. So there will be tables created for each social media platform. Before I say this, so for the database one, we have user social media info, which is what I was talking about. We have the lab schedule, the lab request, robots, employee records, sensor resources, and environment resources. The database will be hosted on Oracle, and the design of the database starts with user tables, which when a user creates an account, the information will be stored in the table. Once the user has established an account, he or she can request time and what resources are needed for the robot. And then I already explained the social media stuff to you. Okay, then next is the lab request table will hold what the user has requested for the robot. In the lab request table, data will be stored and requested for items like user information, the water tank information, sensors, and employees. Lab request pulls data from robots, environmental resources, sensor resources, lab schedule, and employee records, so the user can use the virtual robot. Employees table stores information such as name, address, contact information, and ID number. Appointments will be scheduled by their employees into the lab schedule table for the lab to negate scheduling conflicts and enhance security. The lab schedule table consists of the lab schedule ID, user ID, time, and date of requested appointment. That was exhausting. So exhausting. But I feel like you're just going to read the rest in the paper, so. Plus my throat's sore, I'm tired of talking. And it's been 30 minutes, thank God. Now I have to go take another final. I just want a few closing notes. Like I said before in the last video, the semester has been a whirlwind, but it's almost done. I have one more final today, and then I'm done. And guess what I'm doing after my final? I'm drinking. Just as I promised in the last video, that's what I'll be doing. But if you have any questions, please let me know. If not, probably never see you again. That's cool too. But have a wonderful holiday. Thank you for everything. Merry Christmas.